Hey everybody! Hey everybody! It's your friend Adam.
Hey
right
now!
here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no! Do not do that again. This is my channel. How dare you? How fucking dare you? Oh God! I cussed in the first 30 seconds again. Shit!
See what I've
God
done.
damn it!
See what you made me do.
I drop an F-bomb at second 20. Now I can
Wow.
cuss 31 seconds.
Wow.
All right. So my
For
good pal
shame.
Sitch is joining me. We're going to do we're not going to watch this whole video. Obviously, I can only stream for a couple hours. So, but this is my regular Thursday time slot. Welcome everyone to Thursday Live. Welcome Sitch. The Doomer no wrench situation has already been taken care of in the chat. A team reigns supreme, obviously.
Well, you know how like your free will you cut with like baking soda?
What? Don't
and
tell
sugar?
him that. Well, not
Okay,
before
like it's the same thing with your wrenches. Obviously, your wrenches are only like a quarter value or an eighth value.
My wrenches are sacrosanct. Don't talk smack about my wrenches.
Listen,
So
we're gonna no. You're inflating the wrench market on your channel. Okay,
we go full MMT wrenches around here. But do you want to give? What was your you messaged me and you said, Adam, we have to talk about this. This is very interesting. This Jonathan Haidt, Jordan Peterson discussion. And I thought it was interesting too. My big takeaway was Haidt ain't playing around, man. Jordan Peterson's like, but what about architect? And he's like, get back, bitch. I fucking figured this out, okay? You're not riding my coattails to fame and fortune and historical prominence. Back the fuck up.
I don't think that's the dynamic that happens in this conversation at all.
Look at the look on Jonathan Haidt's face. Lou, he's schooling him. He's totally schooling him.
There's a couple times where Jordan Peterson suggests something and then Haidt pushes back strongly disagreeing, but I don't. You're adding almost like extra context that I don't think is there.
You're totally underselling it here. Haidt has this way of under his breath saying, "Oh yeah," like, but it's a dismissive yeah. It's like, hurry up and finish. It's not a yeah, I agree with you. It's a yeah, you're talking nonsense. And when is it my turn to talk?
I see.
You
Interesting.
don't think so?
I missed this whole. I don't know. I didn't hear any of this dynamic you're referring to. This
did you watch it?
Drama. I think in the future we might do this whole stream on our stream on Sunday.
Yeah,
it's a great conversation. So many interesting and worthwhile things are discussed. So it'll be maybe it'd be a nice breath of fresh air from our usual insanity.
It's so fucking hilarious. Every time, the gardeners want to cut the hedge Thursday at 6 p.m. Every fucking time.
I don't hear it.
That's because I have a directional mic, but
yeah, I know.
It sounds like a train is going right by my office. Here it comes. All right. Do you have a timestamp? I didn't do any timestamps, but no. I did do some timestamps on the other one, and maybe I should bring that up because I think it would be interesting. So Jordan Peterson, let me give some backstory that you don't know unless you're following this.
A big nerd.
Yeah, basically. Unless you're a big moral psychology nerd and are following moral psychology since its inception. You know, Jonathan Haidt is a personal friend of yours. You've actually I do. Jonathan Haidt is an acquaintance of mine, and I do know him just through his book. So I wasn't aware of this being developed or anything. But Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson, well, they go way back. Do you know the story? Can you tell the story?
Well, I didn't know about it till listening to this, where they said that, like, didn't they both work at the same college or something, and they just ended up like becoming friends because they could argue with each other about similar topics, kind of like we do.
So. No, I don't think so. I don't think they do. I don't think they sit down and argue like us. Jordan Peterson was teaching at Harvard. And I know this from his first interview with Jordan Peterson after Jordan Peterson blew up. But Jordan Peterson was teaching at Harvard. And then Jonathan Haidt wanted to teach at Harvard. And Jordan Peterson was one of the few instructors that really pushed for Jonathan Haidt to get a teaching gig there. So the social dynamic was very different. Like Jordan Peterson was like above Jonathan Haidt in the status hierarchy, obviously. And this, obviously he did Jonathan Haidt a huge favor, so he remembered him. But in this interview, this TVO interview, the tables have turned because Jonathan Haidt has this book. He's like he's doing TED Talks, all this. Like he's giant at the time of this interview takes place. His Happiness Hypothesis book was big, and then The Righteous Mind was just critically acclaimed, New York Times bestseller. All this, he's doing all these interviews. And he does an interview with TVO, which TVO, you'll all know, the agenda was Steve Paikin. Jordan Peterson's a regular on, right? So did you, I'm assuming you didn't watch this interview, but I just want to play a tiny little bit of it.
I watched it, yeah.
Oh, you did watch it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
want to
play.
They didn't have like a direct back and forth, though.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But I just want to point it out because this interview takes place, when was this published here? God damn it, YouTube! You got to pull the thing way out in order to see. Yeah, May 30th, 2012. Okay, it's what is that? 8-9 years ago now. So what they talk about, if you listen to the talk that they just had, that Jordan Peterson just published, it's going to sound very familiar because 9 years ago, this happened. So I think, is it Jordan Peterson first? Jordan Peterson.
Okay, Jordan, we're you don't necessarily have to take the same position as Andrew Ferguson on this.
You can hear that, right? Or
yeah. God, that guy's face.
Like let me know in the chat. You guys can hear it, right? Sometimes I forget to share the audio. I don't see much action in the chat, so maybe here we go.
But where are you on the thesis that he's putting forward?
Well, I've always admired Haidt's work, especially the work he did on Disgust.
Oh, the work on Disgust. Look at this. It's like a broken record. Yeah, we get it, Jordan. Read the rest of the book.
Why are you being so hateful and hurtful? What's going on here?
Jordan Peterson has an interrupting problem.
We got our old friend JP. Okay, we're the official internet JP defense force. You can't talk about
I know.
this,
I know.
Right? You need to calm down.
I need to say some Hail Marys.
Look how young he looks. He's got his little mustache goatee thing going on. He looks like he's straight out of the 80s for some reason, even though it's only 2012.
I need to say some lobster hierarchies. Is that the Hail Mary equivalent?
Yes.
I need to say some lobsters. I'm sorry, Jordan. Forgive me.
And we've found that people who are predisposed to conservatism are people who have more disgust response. And so we can detect a pretty solid biological basis there for concern with order. The one place where I would maybe clarify, if it's a clarification, what Jonathan spoke about today is that those aren't taste buds. They're personalities.
Look at that. He tells him, listen, bud, fuck you. Fuck you and your taste buds. They're personalities.
Well, what does Haidt mean by saying they're taste buds? Maybe you should explain that first.
Okay, so moral foundations theory is this idea that we all have psychological programs in us that respond to certain moral intuitions. And he separated these out into 6 moral foundations. I actually think that there's 7 moral foundations. I think they missed one that has to do with property rights, but since academia is just swimming in fucking socialists, they don't want to acknowledge that everybody has this, territory, my stuff kind of moral intuition. Do you agree with that, Sitch? I mean, this might be the first time you're hearing that.
Well, no, you've literally brought this up 100 times on stream.
Oh, okay.
But anyway. Well,
So
no, I
just
don't know
not
if
to get
it's
sidetracked on
yeah,
property rights.
I don't know
but
if it would be its own foundation or if it just breeds into fairness. I mean, I don't know how you'd make the distinction, but it might be its
okay,
own thing. It
yeah.
might be its own thing.
So anyway, so these moral foundations, we talk about them on the show: fairness, cheating, careness, uh, uh, loyalty, betrayal, authority, subversion, sanctity, degradation. There's 6 of them. These moral foundations, the reason he uses the metaphor of taste is because it's like all of us all around the world have the same taste buds, but culture creates certain tastes for those taste buds that differ.
Well, wait a minute.
No,
We all have the same capacity to taste all of the flavors, but we all have our taste buds are all a little different. Like people are
sure.
born with different tastes, and I'm assuming that plays into Haidt's analogy.
Not so much. He's like, we all have the capacity for
Mhm.
caring, but some of us care more than others, obviously. Like we all have the capacity to taste sweet, but some of us like sweet a lot more than others.
Okay.
So that's the taste bud analogy. We're all working with the same taste receptors, but out of those taste receptors, we're forming different cuisines around the world, different cultures with different palates. I
Yeah,
don't know,
but
what is it in culinary cuisines?
Haidt isn't arguing that all of our moral foundations are culturally learned, right? I mean, he's saying people are just born with different, are born differently. A lot of this is biological.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
But he's saying that everyone has the capacity to understand authority, subversion,
Sure.
loyalty, betrayal. We understand these things. Just when you're building a moral system, different cultures will put more emphasis on different factors. And obviously he traces this back to liberals and conservatives. Liberals care far more about
Sure.
care
Sure.
harm, and conservatives
But
care far more about authority subversion.
but when Jordan Peterson says he disagrees and he thinks
Mhm.
these are more akin to personality types than taste buds, I'm not sure I understand what exactly the difference is.
Yes. I think the difference is Haidt's research doesn't involve personality types, and Jordan wants to like muscle his research into Haidt's.
No,
He wants
but
to say, listen,
yeah.
these archetypes are more important.
You think that's why he wants to muscle in his own research into this?
Well, they're very similar. They've had a very similar path. Morality does deal with values, and Jordan Peterson's whole story is about values, human values. And Haidt comes along and he basically says, yeah, this is how we value things. He puts together a system that's very, very systematic, very, it
Right.
does
But
kind of leave personality and archetypes
what I'm saying is, it's like,
aside.
okay, so if you use this taste buds analogy, which I think is a good one, where it's like, oh, people all have this kind of different preferences, and then depending on your culture, you can sort of condition people to have certain preferences or certain non-preferences and tastes. And I think that's a good analogy. But I don't see how that really is that different than saying, well, you have a different personality type. Unless Peterson's only saying is that the personality type is set in stone and can never change.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the interesting things I think about the difference is, I mean, Haidt admits that this is the foundation. I mean, that's the reason it's called moral foundations theory, because he admits that from these tastes we build narratives and institutions on top of that. And Jordan Peterson is dealing more with the narratives and the institutions that we build above the moral foundations theory. This is why I wish Peterson would look more into moral foundations theory and really study it, because I think Haidt is onto the right path
Mhm.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's play. See, maybe he'll explain it.
He doesn't explain much here, but
Oh,
I just
okay.
want to play this a little bit before we get into the other video.
They're sub-personalities. They're sometimes even represented as gods. They're not little mechanistic devices that shape our values. They're fully developed biological systems that perceive and have a viewpoint and have opinions and act in the world.
Are you just arguing with his metaphor here?
No, it's deeper than that. I mean, when people complain,
It's deeper than that. Is all his research is fucking lame. I wish we had a camera on Haidt, because Haidt does these little micro eye rolly things where he's like, "Oh shit, oh, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious." There's many eye rolls in here.
Okay.
Haidt has gotten to be a better speaker over the years. His first talk, he did this talk with Sam Harris before any of this stuff when he was first developing moral foundations theory, and there is a lot of uhs and ahs and oohs, and it's like barely legible. Yeah, bad stuff.
about Haidt, for example, not giving enough weight to cognitive processes. Part of that is that they don't understand how absolutely powerful these underlying systems are and how much they have determined human behavior over thousands and thousands of years. I mean, we are biological creatures with bodies, and the things that play behind the scenes in our mind are powerful beyond most of our imaginings.
Sylvia.
You want to listen to the commie? She's
So,
a
no.
here. That
Well, okay, so I still don't really understand what Peterson's saying, because the only thing that I understood that he said was that he's criticizing Haidt for being too dismissive of cognitive processes. And cognitive processes would be like your writer, your higher functions. And he's saying Haidt is focusing too much on that. People just have these initial reactions to things, which is like, okay, well, I mean, that's what Haidt does, it seems like, primarily. But I still don't see what the difference is between saying personality types, because I would assume a personality type is something you don't control either. It's not something, I mean, I wouldn't consider someone gaining a personality type. I assume you're born that way, or maybe even you've heavily been conditioned that way, as a child.
The personality type, I think the temperament, I don't think you can change.
Right.
Like the narrative that Haidt uses is structured. The brain is structured somewhat before any experience takes place. So your experience really sends you down the path of your temperament, but how far down that path really relates to the experience. Like if you're a rebel and you're in a situation where you experience a lot of injustice, man, you're probably that rebel thing is gonna just be off the charts. But if you're in a situation where you're a rebel but you experience very little injustice, hell, you might just rebel. Like rebellion, maybe you're gonna have a second slice of pie.
Right. No. Yeah, I like to think of it as if it's like like the ground is like a mountain ground, and it's just filled with different holes of differing lengths and varies. And you could say, okay, well, like that's your brain. It's this ground that has all these different holes in it of different sizes. And then the things that happen to you is rain, and it depending on where it rains and how much it rains and how deep the hole is, that shows like how much the experiences can really shape you. Like it still has to have that initial grooves in your brain to really latch onto in the first place.
Yeah.
But anyway, did you want to go to the recent video?
Yeah, I was gonna go to where they kick old. You said something about Steven Pinker before we started. You want to mention that?
I just thought Adam was like when I joined, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start right when they kick Pinker off because Pinker's useless." And I'm like, "What are you fucking?" Pinker is a saint, Adam. He is so wonderful in this conversation. You are insane. Okay,
Pinker's a moron. The funny thing is, so in the beginning of the conversation, I'll say one thing about the Pinker portion. Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson are on the same page about religion. Like, we're not replacing religion. We evolved for religion.
yes.
And Peterson and Haidt are both resigned to that. Pinker doesn't believe that. Pinker thinks that there are secular alternatives that are not necessarily religious, like science could be a religion.
I don't even remember this part of the conversation. It's how not even important I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, it's important to me because that's that's like the fight against the anti-theists and a lot of people. They think, and the communists.
No, but I'm
think
saying,
we
but
don't
right,
need
but it's funny
religion.
because you heard this one section, which I don't even remember, and it like triggered you to be like, Pinker was useless in this conversation.
Well, I don't think Pinker was totally useless in the conversation. As you said, Pinker does give a lot of information, useful information that is good for optimists, which I like. Obviously, I want to be an optimist. Right now, I'm not as much Peterson, but Haidt is definitely a huge pessimist, which I don't like. I don't like at all.
He's
But
pessimistic. So Pinker, and why I thought he was useful is he a lot of what they were talking about was, the direction the country is going and this kind of push away from liberal values by both the left and the right. And Pinker kind of, lays out very well, I think, how fucking dumb the extreme edges of the left and the right are for wanting to throw away liberalism. And he kind of rehashes some of their tired arguments that we've been hearing recently again, and again. But I mean, Pinker's optimistic that in the near future, we'll figure out a way to deal with the problems of social media. And he kind of talks about how when the printing press came about, there was all sorts of kind of similar problems that we were facing today, where everyone was just printing like fake news stories constantly. They're talking about demons possessing people and aliens or monsters or also whatever they talked about, back then. And he's saying it's actually kind of analogous to what's happening now. And he thinks we'll figure out a way to kind of regulate things appropriately or socially figure out what we want to do. But Haidt's position is basically like he thinks everything is totally fucked for now. He's still optimistic that 100 years from now we'll be living in some kind of Star Trek utopia future, but he thinks in our near future he only sees things for the next 5 or 10 years getting significantly not significantly, but just getting worse, further polarized, further divided. Which, I mean, I think I would probably agree with that. I don't think I disagree with that.
he said in this conversation something that made an impression on me too, and we talked earlier in the week about how it's difficult to have these conversations about where we're at because all of us, you in the chat, us, geez, Sitch and I couldn't live further apart from one another. Like we're on opposite ends of the country. So we're living in different realities, and so much of your outlook on how things are, I think, is tainted by your personal circumstance.
Of course.
And in this talk, Haidt mentioned that he lives in New York and he must live close to NYU where he teaches. And I've lived in New York, and New York can be a super tough place. And he said with the pandemic, like crime is completely skyrocketed, and so I think, and I had to pick my wife up from the airport, and man, I drove through South Los Angeles, and wow, oh my God, it's like the last 2 years have just eviscerated it in a way that I haven't seen. I mean, I think that those situations have a bearing on your outlook on how things are going. So, well,
also, I mean, Pinker's brand is kind of to be the optimist. So, it's like when he becomes pessimistic, you're like, oh fuck, like we're in real big trouble. And Haidt's, very hyper focused on these issues of tribalization, which is very important, but that's his main focus. So,
yeah, I'm not as nervous about it as Haidt is. So, but maybe, I worry that Haidt worries about it.
I don't know, because I think there's one aspect. Haidt brings up a very interesting thing. I don't know if this is what you're going to play. Is it about how like kids today are watching content generated by kids as opposed to content generated by adults?
Yeah,
which I thought was very fascinating.
Yeah,
but,
that was fascinating.
There's an aspect of this that I don't think Haidt hasn't focused on, which is that for good or for ill, it seems like kids are fucking way more lazier when it comes to their activism. Because it's weird. Like on one hand, you have the people that go march with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, but even that, like if you go talk to your parents, depending on their age, if they're boomers, you go talk to them about the 60s and 70s. I mean, the protest for the Vietnam War and civil rights stuff were like way crazier. Like my parents were talking about how like they would have to skip days from their public school because of like fucking riots and demonstrations, and it just seems like everything was like way crazier back then than it is now. And I think there is an element that kids, a lot of the Zoomers especially, are just way lazier when it comes to this kind of political engagement. And maybe it's because they can go on Twitter, they can go on social media, they can go tweet whatever they want. And then it gives you that chemical feedback as if you actually accomplished something, even though you didn't. So maybe that will kind of keep the crazies at bay to some extent, because they'll just go on, perform on social media, and that'll be enough.
I just read John McWhorter's new book, Woke Racism: How a New Religion Has Betrayed Black America. And he talks about all the activism being purely performative.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing. What you're saying is super on point because yeah. And I even like the Black Lives riots, protests,
the BLM riots.
The BLM protests, I think were like 80% pandemic and 20% activism.
I think you're right. I think
you couldn't get out. It was like, let's go meet some girls, for heaven's sakes. Fucking staying at home sucks.
It's so funny because like before the stream, I forget, Adam said something that had some sort of like sexual innuendo I could tack onto it. And so I did, and he was like, Sitch, you're so juvenile, you always make your sexual innuendos. And it's like every time some motivation for a person has anything to do with, could possibly be because they want to bang women, like that's Adam's immediate go-to. Like, oh, all the people with Black Lives Matter, they just wanted to like bang chicks. Obviously, that's why they went out there.
I don't know.
If you're talking about who's got sex on the brain, I don't think it's me, sir.
What? I mean, man, so much of my 20s was just absorbed with meeting girls. Is this not? I mean, me and all my friends and everyone I knew. I mean, I'm assuming that's normal for people.
I don't know. I think to some degree, I think it is. I think apparently you or your friends were just like so single track minded about getting laid. That was not even remotely my experience.
Really?
Up, so yeah.
You were friends with a bunch of nerds, right? They didn't want to.
That must be it. That must be it.
No, none of your friends wanted to.
I didn't say that. I said, of course they did, but you're acting like it's like the 100% of your time is just devoted to trying to have sex.
Well, 95%.
Okay, 90. Still pretty much. That's pretty high.
Utter nonsense for $1.99 says Haidt missed the tomboy abs licking moral intuition.
That's true.
He did. That's like a whole foundation right there. That's a whole foundation that will piss Academic Agent off, of course. There's been a temporary truce in the Academic Agent saga, guys.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know about this.
Really? I swear I told you, but I sent you. Maybe you didn't put it all together here.
Oh, I understand what you're referring to. Okay, yeah.
So Academic Agent started like, listen, I unblocked Academic Agent because
he wanted to shitpost.
You were going after him, okay? And it was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful.
Wait, he came after me. I'm just like whistling my own business, and then this asshole starts throwing rocks at me, and then I'm just like, oh, I guess I have to destroy you on Twitter now.
That's always how it is, okay? He's a fucking shit starter.
Yes,
it always starts with him throwing a tag at you and calling you out or something.
I forget he exists until he tags me on Twitter.
I know. This is why I blocked his ass. Because I'm like, would you please just stop tagging me randomly, okay? So, but he threw a rock at you. I'm blocked, so he's like done with me. But I started responding to you, and I'm like, this isn't fair. Like, he can't even see my responses. This is not fair. These jokes are hilarious. He should see them. So I unblocked him, and then the next thing you know, very next day, he's tagging me again. What the fuck, dude? I can't go one day. One day he's tagging me again. So we're at it. Sitch is saying, you're wasting your whole day, Adam. What are you doing? Why are you Ignore him.
Well, you're trying to have like serious conversations with these people. I'm just like fucking shit posting on them, and I'm like, Adam, stop wasting your time.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm definitely guilty of that. But I said, I said, here. Well, I watched this. Who's the guy? It's some MMT video that I watched.
Yeah,
MMT,
it's actually it's Bob Murphy show. It's pretty interesting.
Bob Murphy show. It's a fucking great show. Bob Murphy talks to an MMT guy, and they're hammering it out. They're back and forth about this thing, that thing. They're really going deep into economics. It's fascinating. I found it fascinating. I thought Sitch would find it boring. I shared it with Sitch, and he's like, "No, this is fascinating."
It's
I
very
watched the whole
interesting,
thing. So I responded to Academic Agent, and I said, "Here, if you want to respond to this with like 20 videos, I'll watch them all. Like I'm in." And he's like, "Oh, sure." So I'm like, yes. So maybe
There
there's
you
a
go.
temporary ceasefire here, and Academic Agent is actually going to do a response video
See.
that we'll be watching eagerly.
Adam is easily distracted by jangly keys, so he tried the jangly key technique.
It works on other
Academic
people.
Agent. And apparently it might work. He's like, I don't want to talk about all this dumb shit. Let's talk about this completely unrelated topic.
Yes.
Here are these jangly keys.
Yes.
And Academic is like, oh yeah, okay, sure.
I'm sick of your Nazi paganist, okay? Fucking let's talk about MMT.
It's actually very funny because him tagging me on Twitter, might actually become relevant because, Dave, I saw that someone posted a comment that Dave has something called Telegram, which I didn't even know existed. Distributors had this
Yes.
platform. And he left some angry comment that he felt betrayed and that, I don't remember exact words, but he thought that, that I was wrong for categorizing him as being pro-segregation. So I wrote him an email where I was very, trying to be cordial, saying, look, I have no problem publicly retracting what I said, but I want to, understand your position more. And so I kind of like laid out my thoughts. And he hasn't responded yet, but so I'll see if he does. But I just thought that that's interesting because if Dave's position is that he's not in favor of segregation, and the reason that Academic Agents attacked me on Twitter is because he heard our conversation and then attacked me, not by saying that Dave is not in favor of segregation, but by saying that segregation is good and that desegregation is bad. So it feels like I've got like the two sides of the coin here. Like I have Distributors who's saying this kind of vague thing, and now he's saying that he's not in favor of segregation. Academic Agents like just mask off saying desegregation was awful. So,
that video is pretty. I mean, Academic Agent has pretty much put this in a video.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, people are calling me out left and right. I mean, I don't want to make any declaration. I'm exactly in the same situation as you were with no bullshit. Like the whole thing, the whole time I'm on the stream, I'm thinking, my God, this is what Sitch took no bullshit to task for. He's like, you were basically saying, how are you going to sit on a stream with a guy saying such racist fucking shit and you're not even saying anything? And I'm like, I'm not like, Dave, I can't sit on a stream with you and you say like vaguely racist shit and me not say anything. Like I got to get to the bottom of that.
Right,
But I'm in a situation here where like any intimation, any like follow up or any like mention that this could be perceived as maybe a little racist, like nobody wants to follow that up. It's like, well, you and I would follow that up.
Right. You can blame me for it. I was in like a weird headspace for that conversation. I think I was trying to be way too nice and that, I should have been like, not accusatory, but been like, well, wait a minute. What are you saying? We need to like fully flesh out and explure so that we understand what your position is.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that. So
I can't remember one of the comments. I've responded to a bunch of people in the comments and just try to make my position clear. Like they're basically saying it's your fault. And I'm like, listen, how's it my fucking fault? Like it's not my position, right? I use the example of Lance. Lance came on our stream and, I caught him doing this thing that he does where he tries to get you to say something vague so he can go to his stream and call you a racist. Say, oh, they're Andrew Yang supporters. They're obviously, wink, wink. We know what that means, right? But I said, no, fucking bullshit, stopped him. Like, we're stopping the conversation here. I want my position to be clear. This is why I'm supporting Andrew Yang, not so you can go fucking make up some shit on some other stream somewhere. And that just never happened with Dave.
Right.
Like I'm fucking, I don't let that shit happen, man.
Sure.
But I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, there's
Maybe
also
that's a bad thing.
right. Well, there's also a problem too, which is, I mean, I was listening to some of the other academic agent streams. He streams with like a bunch of people.
God.
Someone sent me the Osama bin Laden stream.
I know.
It's actually super boring. It's actually super
Yeah.
duper boring. But the people that academic agent, it's actually very interesting. I think people might have the whole internet pipeline thing backwards, because the people who I think have much smaller audiences than academic agent are far crazier, even more like super more extreme than any of his positions, at least during that conversation. And Distributors was even on that stream. And then his chat is like even more extreme than anyone that's actually talking. And it's kind of fascinating because we have this, I'm listening to this and I'm like, wait a minute. We have this idea that you have these extremist YouTubers or Twitch people, and they're leading people down these rabbit holes. But maybe it's actually like the inverse. Maybe the audience is very extreme. And then in order to satisfy them, the YouTuber becomes more extreme in reflection to his audience.
Wow.
And then it kind of creates this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can use the popularity of the creator as sort of a metric to figure out how many people are in each of these extremist camps.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah. I always think, academic agent, just there's not that big an audience for that in my eyes. So I just feel like,
though it was weird because this was on September, the week of September 11th, this year, I assume. And this is before we had any interaction with AA. And there were already like 2 or 3 comments mentioning both of us.
Really?
So I guess we have some overlap between his fans or something. But
yeah, we obviously do.
And I was like, why are they talking about us? Like
this, I mean, I used to listen to AA streams. I've been on his Popular Opinion show like 2 or 3 times, and I mean, I showed up in his chat, and the chat was just like insulting me right and left, and I thought, why is this happening? Like, what's going on here? And I even messaged academic agent when we were still friendly and said, listen, why does your audience think I'm something that I'm not? Like, you know, they basically think I'm a commie or something. And we do a show that's very anti-communist.
Right.
But it's all the MMT stuff. They've gaslit so many people on MMT that they see it as communism.
I think it's also that, you know, it's like with the socialist, if you're anything that's right to the socialist is a fascist. With the neo-reactionaries, anything that's to the left of them is a socialist. So.
Yeah. Brian for $5 says optimist and
Brain.
pessimist. Oh, is it Brain? Oh, it is Brain. Brain for $5. Go ahead, fucking.
Optimists and pessimists have it all wrong. Think deeper, dear centrist. The glass is half full, but what's in it will kill you. Well, first of all, that is literally pessimism.
Yeah, I was gonna say disguised as optimism.
Yeah, that's pessimism disguised optimism. But that's, I mean, look, I understand. That's the Sargon position. So,
it's poison, but I'm thirsty.
You know, well, we're all these things that they're gonna make us optimistic about the future are actually gonna tend to end up to being bad and making us, you know, fat Wally chair people. Yeah, which I don't believe. I don't believe for a single second that's gonna happen.
I hope I didn't miss any. I think I might have. Damn it. Christopher Myers for $10. I love this interview with Pinker and Haidt. What I found interesting is that Pinker was almost making James Lindsay's argument about us transitioning from info feudalism to enlightenment is there.
Enlightenment. Yeah, he does make, I don't remember the exact argument, but he does make a similar argument that Lindsay has made. Yeah. Because Lindsay made the same argument that Pinker made about the, you know, people keep attacking liberalism. And both Lindsay and Pinker said the same thing. They say liberalism, or maybe even Haidt said this, I don't remember. He said liberalism is a means to solve disputes and allow people to live together. It's not a system that's supposed to give meaning to your life. And that's sort of the straw man that happens when you talk to the socialist or even the neo-reactionaries. is they keep saying, oh, well, liberalism doesn't provide meaning in people's lives. And it's like, you're right, but it was never supposed to. That's not the point of liberalism. The point of liberalism is to allow everyone to be able to coexist without murdering each other and then find meaning themselves through whatever, mechanism they want.
That's a project that Jordan Peterson should be working on. Well,
Yes.
I guess he's Canadian, so fuck him. He can't really work on it because we need.
Well, not in
That's the
America.
problem. Yeah, that's the problem we have in America. Like we're
Right.
looking for a new American narrative that can really unite blacks and whites in a way that none of the narratives really do.
But it's interesting because both sides, the socialists and the neo-reactionaries, they do this thing where they point to elements of society where they say, oh, liberalism has failed, so therefore we should throw out liberalism and embrace, whatever I'm selling. But all the things they're pointing to are not actually liberalism. They're anti-liberal laws or they're anti-liberal practices that exist in our liberal society. So it's very ironic that they keep pointing to, and we see this like with the neo-reactionary, it's so obvious. They keep pointing to wokeness and socialism as reasons for getting rid of liberalism. And it's like, wait, you're pointing to people who are behaving anti-liberal as evidence that we should get rid of liberalism. Like, it's very silly.
Yeah. I'm going to try to read the super chats as we go, guys, just because I have a hard out at 8:00. So I miss Derek Drummond for $5 says obligatory S class is worse than A team super chat with a choo-choo emoji. That's right. A train. All hail the A train.
This is why Derek's not going to get a wrench. I think he complained about it last week.
Derek, let me know, Derek, if you need a wrench. Let me know. I think Derek already has a wrench.
On the channel that matters.
Don't.
I'm taking it away, Derek. I'm taking it away. I'm going into the settings. I'm finding the button.
Nobody risk your wrenches here. It's not worth it.
Get rid of the wrenches.
We all know.
See, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier.
Wrenches.
This is exactly what we were talking about earlier with Hassan.
Guys, A-team, we need to stick together. Don't risk the wrenches. Huddle together.
Adam thinks that people intentionally who subscribe to Hassan try to trigger him in order to see what the line is before they can get blocked, even though they're subbing to him.
I want to go. I was telling Sitch this before the stream. I want to go. I want to sub to Hassan and then actually live make insults at Hassan and push the needle and see how far we can go before we actually get. We don't want to drop Hassan, you're a dumb fuck. right out of the gate. We want to tiptoe up to the line and then leap over it with both feet. Danish jargon for $5 says it seems like Haidt focuses on the substituted.
I'm sorry. Let me look. I'm like
arts of personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a word, right? I'm not just completely retarded. Right?
You could be.
It seems like Haidt focuses on the substitute part of personality. I think
maybe that's what they meant. Yeah.
I think Haidt is focused on the subconscious parts of personality, while Jordan Peterson is focused on the emergent features of personality. That's a good distinction. Yes, maybe so. That could be it. Definitely.
Substituent.
Yeah, when I was super excited when Haidt was talking about, we'll do this again. And then he was like, maybe next year. And I'm like, God damn it. Why do you got to do? You guys could do, like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson did 4 2-hour discussions back to back, which was amazing. And Haidt, man, those conversations could go way deeper than Sam Harris ever could. And Sam Harris is just a gigantic clout chaser. We all know it. Sam Harris knows it. Don't you? I mean, it's sad right now. Sam Harris is out there trying to line up 4 talks with Jordan Peterson in a row. And Haidt is like, yeah, I'll talk to you next year, sucker. Teach you to talk back to me on my first interview.
Derek Drummond does not have a wrench. Okay. I don't know why you scared me like that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
On my channel.
I don't care about your channel. Your fucking fake channel. I mean, yeah, no.
I said, I hope he has a wrench on my channel.
Okay.
Derek, let me know if you need a wrench. Okay, just say. Oh yeah, Derek's got a wrench, of course.
Even
Why do you think
Danimal
he's-
has it. He has a wrench next to his wrench. This is blasphemy.
Why do you think? Yeah, of course. Danimal's my bro. What are you talking
Look at
about?
all these people without wrenches. Yeah, the Batosai, the manslayer. No wrench for him. Okay.
Well, there's a lot of AA people.
Brian.
I did.
Yeah, I did check Brian, but why don't you have a wrench on this channel? What about Kelson Gladsky?
Why? I mean, I'm tempted to just give him one, but
Chris
wait,
Jones, AB.
see,
gave Brain one.
A lot of these people were pissing me off in the comments of our most recent talks.
The Loch Ness Monster for 350 at him. You got 350?
Wait, Brain does have a wrench. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know he does.
Brain, MMT enthusiasts often oversell it with left bias. Yeah, see, look, Brain knows MMT. Of course he's got a wrench.
Asriel doesn't have a wrench.
Please. Oh, Asriel definitely needs a wrench. What am I
Oren
thinking?
Montgomery? Jeez, come on.
Asriel needs a wrench.
Mhm.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah. Who else did I miss here?
Does Lord Tennyson's pipe have a wrench?
Lord Tennyson's pipe obviously has a wrench.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on.
What about
on, these-
Gemini Semini?
No, Gemini does not get a wrench.
You'll give Lord Tennyson's pipe a wrench, but not Gemini Semini.
Gemini sexually harasses me on the fucking live streams. Of course I'm not going to give him a wrench. You
It
think
was
I wanna
out of
encourage
love.
that kind of behavior?
Oh, wow, Adam, you're acting
What?
like such a lady. Jeez.
I'm King
King Dance
Dingus.
Killer, aka Dingus McBingus, does not have a wrench. What the fuck, Adam?
I know,
fuck?
but now I'm terrified that you guys are changing your names to gaslight me. I'm worried. Okay, I'm going to believe the Mossad. Obviously, he's in my chat all the time.
Mossad, yes.
He gets a wrench.
Milkman
that.
Dan says he donated his
Look.
wrench to a starving African child. Okay.
Look,
that's
I'm pro.
very brave.
Look, I'm pro Israel now. The Mossad has a fucking wrench. King Killer, aka Dingus McBingus. Obviously, I hope that's the real Dingus.
I said your name,
McBingus,
Kelson, yeah.
because Dingus McBingus. I would give Dingus McBingus 2 wrenches if I could. Yeah. So anyway, slow me down on the super chats here. Let's see if the next one is relevant to the talk. Trying to keep up and trying to read relevant super chats. The Butter Anvil for $5. Of course the Butter Anvil has a wrench. What is this? Fucking North Korea? Hey, hey now. As always, my brain hopes to be S-class. My heart yearns to be A-team. Watch the Destiny Alec Baldwin stuff. Alec did nothing wrong, probably. I have a feeling Alec did do quite a bit wrong, to be honest with you.
Well, so do you know what the story is so far?
There was a live round of ammunition in the fucking chamber, and he shot
Yes.
a bitch in the face.
No, but do you know what they were filming?
No. What was it?
They were filming a close-up where the camera was supposed to,
Yeah. Oh, I figured that.
you know, he's supposed to point directly at the camera, and the camera's supposed to be looking into the barrel, and apparently you'll see if it's empty. So that's why they're putting. It's supposed to be a fake round, obviously, but there's a real round in there.
Yeah.
And so I don't see how that's Alec Baldwin's fault.
Well, that's the dumb camera operator who should be, or someone in the monitor. But
No,
they
it
don't
would
know
be-
shit about guns.
It would be whoever gave whoever the arms person, the arms lady, the arms
Yeah.
master. Yeah,
the
that's
arms
their fault.
SJW. Yeah.
Right. I don't see how that's Alec Baldwin. If those facts are true, I don't see how that's Alec Baldwin's fault.
Because there is 4 checks that they do, and the last check is the fucking actor. Why are you laughing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're laughing at the chat.
Yeah, repeat. There's 4 checks. Oh, you mean there's 4 different people are supposed to check the gun 4 different times?
What are you laughing at in the chat? Just so
wait,
everyone will
okay.
know.
What were you saying?
No, I want to know what you're laughing
Let me-
at in the chat.
Tell me what you were saying.
There are 4 checks that the production crew is supposed to do before they
I see.
fire the gun. Yes.
Right,
And the
right.
last check is the actor is
Oh,
supposed to check.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yes.
that. So the
This
actor
happens
is supposed to check.
This happens before every and the camera operator assistant or something like that.
Mhm.
It's been a long time since I was on a set.
So, but here's, is it part of an actor's responsibility to be able to open the chamber and know the difference between like a dummy round and a real bullet?
Yeah, well, I guess.
Well, I don't know, 'cause
well, not only listen, people walked off the set because they shirked on the training. Whenever there's live firearms on a movie set, they're supposed to do like 2 hours of gun safety training with the entire crew before
Mhm.
they ever begin the production.
Right.
And in that gun safety training, they explain to the actor the difference between a live round and a dummy round. So the actor does know because he's been fucking trained.
Okay, I don't know.
This is this
me,
is
if
an
you have a
Alec
round-
Baldwin production too
Sure.
that didn't do. People walked off the set earlier because there was crazy, like not they weren't being safe with the guns.
Yeah,
Everyone in
if-
Hollywood works
Mhm.
with a bunch of different, like there are regular crews that work together. The way that it usually works is some crew member you hire says, "Oh yeah, I know a bunch of people that
Right.
can fill different roles." So they all work on movie sets all the time together, and they've all been through this fucking training course like a bazillion times because
Sure,
it's boring as fuck. Yeah.
If Baldwin is some kind of, if he's like a producer or he has some kind of oversight over the entire production, then yes, obviously, if they hire someone who sucks, then he's at the end of the day has some responsibility. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if they have fake bullets that are intentionally like going to be shown on camera and have to look real enough that they look real to an audience, I just don't know how exactly like the actor is necessarily culpable for not being able to look at a fake bullet that's supposed to look real and a real bullet.
Well, the way that they normally do it, if the
Mhm.
gun is going to be looking down the barrel, they do two separate shots. They do a shot first with the live round.
Right.
Then they take the live round out and they put the dummy round in, and they do the shot where they actually shoot the gun. And then they edit those two shots together.
Right. Well, I'm
it?
assuming that's what they were trying to do, except that for some reason this gun
Yeah.
had the live round instead of the dummy round.
Yeah. Dumbasses. It's so fucking, it sucks. It just sucks. I feel for the fucking lady that, like, the dude lost his fucking wife.
Doomer says it's supposed to be a tiny hole. Okay, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, no, even blanks, if you're close enough, they do explode and they can fuck you up. So
Just so you guys know, I share super chats with Sitch. I know a lot of people hate Sitch, so I don't want you don't want you to lose your shit when I give your money to Sitch. Anyway, so maybe
lose your shit. You mean be upset if you didn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
I run my show like a workers' comp.
Jesus.
Fair Joker for $2 says, Sitch, did you get my Twitter DM? Tifa with abs. Oh, I got that DM. That was that was a good DM.
Were we both on the same DM? I don't remember this.
Chris Jones for $5. I don't think you guys were being too nice. You were
Resend
just
it to me, Fair Joker.
lashing out at weird times. You shouldn't. You should have cut him off more politely and clarified his policies. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't talk. Like, I didn't want the 2-on-1 charge to be dealt, so I said, "Listen, Sitch, I'm letting you talk 90% of the time for the first 2 hours."
Right.
But once super chats got around, I was kind of sick of just the fucking vagaries, and I lost my shit.
When I say being too nice, part of what I mean by that is that the closest person I could compare Distributus to is Ben Burgess, where, because normally, when I try to talk to people, I ask them kind of short questions, and then I kind of expect, not like the world answered back to me, right? Like, I want to have a back and forth conversation where I say, well, hold on, what about X? And then they explain, and I say, okay, well, what about Y? But with Dave, it was the same thing with Ben Burgess, where I'd ask something and I would get like a 10-minute answer back. And part of the problem is I'm too nice to tell them the fucking, to cut them off, because whenever people talk like that, I don't know why, I just literally, I can't pay attention. Maybe it's ADD. I just literally slowly die inside and my brain shuts off because I'm so bored. So that is something I'll have to work on.
I listened to the first couple things they say, and when it's not answering the question, I just assume they're not going to answer the fucking question. And I just tune out. I'm like, fucking.
To be fair, they usually do answer the question. It just takes so long to get there that you've like
Right.
lost the initial thought of whatever you were
I
talking.
forgot what the fucking question even
Yeah,
was.
exactly.
Like, where are we going with this? Yes. This is one of the reasons why I think the Sunday show is as popular as it is because Sitch and I, like there's two ways that you can have a conversation. You can have a collaborative conversation where you're working together and building off of one another, or you can have a combative conversation where whatever one person says, the other person tries to deny or rebut or debunk. And that's exactly the conversation we had with Distributus. Like it was basically everything we said he was trying to debunk. And I really came to the revelation afterwards that that's one of the reasons why I was so triggered, because it's like I couldn't say anything without him saying, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, listen,
right.
This
Which
is
is especially
not a productive
annoying
way to talk. Yeah.
Because I felt like both of us was trying to find common agreement, and it was just, and it's the same thing with Joel, and it's really annoying when it's like I'm trying to give people some, give them some slack here, find a common agreement, and they just throw everything back in my face, and it's just like, fuck
and
you.
also they're like, as a like principle of charity, Dave would say all kinds of things that I would just like disagree with categorically and just call bullshit on. But instead of being a dick, like, and saying that's bullshit, fuck you, I have this, like, I'll let him talk, let him get his argument out, and that is being categorized as agreeing with him. What?
Yeah. Well, then you get in the problem too, because normally I like to let people generally finish, but if they go on for so long, you've forgotten what you wanted to clarify. That was 5 minutes into their answer.
Yeah. So, but I've read all the comments that Dave is just way beyond us, way smarter than us, just completely enlightened, and we're the dum-dums. That's fine. That's fine. I don't judge people.
That's not all right, because Dave posted it on his thing. He got his audience to flood the comment section. So.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, on the Telegram. So of course he posted the link. So
I don't know. It seemed like the people I was arguing with definitely watched the show. Like they definitely listen to us and know our routine. So
okay.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Lucifer the Doberman for 20 Canadian says, taking people to task, getting the facts, and finding all angles to look at situations is the reason I love both of you. I have gotten a lot sharper because of you and this amazing chat. Thank you for all the good times. Yeah, Lucifer the Doberman, definitely.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wrench. You definitely deserve one. Look at this. Obviously, it's the real McBingus. He gave me a fucking $50 super chat. Thank you, Dingus McBingus. That's pretty nice of you. So do you want to? Should we go a little bit on the?
You should watch all of this video that we're.
Let's do it. We're supposed to be.
Yes.
But we may. I guess we may do this on the Sunday show, which.
Well, not this Sunday, but at some point on some Sunday we might do it.
This Sunday we're going to do a short video and only stream for a couple hours because it's Halloween, and Kurt Metzger I think is going to come on too, which is going to totally fucking destroy any of the haters that want to say it's just a comedy show, because Kurt Metzger like immediately gives us fucking comedy credibility. It does. He's a fucking professional, dude.
I think it's funny because like a lot of the people recently were complaining about, especially people that are not our fans, were complaining about the comedy show thing, not understanding like the meme behind it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not totally disingenuous. I mean, my whole thinking is, listen, when I did,
that's all you have to say. It's not totally disingenuous. That's all you have to say. Yeah. That doesn't need any further explanation.
I'm a fucking comedy. I think of myself as a comedy writer, and the ultimate goal of the show is to be fun. God, who wants to? The world is a
Listen, I'm not saying it's not a lie. It's just not a total lie. Okay.
What? I think there's more truth in it for me than it is for you,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay.
Hey, you know who used to write for the Chappelle Show?
You?
My friend Kurt Metzger.
Oh, okay.
The guy who's fucking coming on
There
our
you
show,
go.
man. My
There you
fucking
go.
comedian friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God, what? The best thing about the show is that my co-host hates the fucking show.
I don't hate the show. What are you talking about? I love the show.
That's hilarious. All right, let's see Haidt. Get ready. Like, I hope fucking Jordan Peterson has his mouthpiece in.
Listen, this is definitely a collaborative conversation, not a combative one. All right,
dude. I'm gonna point
trying
every
to work
time
together here.
Every time Haidt is like, oh God, it's so passive aggressive. I love it.
Steve doesn't think that group selection played any role, but I think if you look at groupishness or tribalism, Steve, which is in a for all sorts that
I'm backing up because I'm trying
to become complete.
Where the
conceptualization of religious instinct, conceptualization.
What are you doing?
Okay, here he is.
Very good to see
Here
you.
he is.
Nice to see you, John. Nice to see you, Jordan.
You too.
Bye.
Get fucked.
So let's
Play it.
I'm sorry. This is a comedy show,
God, play
Sitch,
it.
okay?
let's start by talking a little bit more about the righteous mind.
Okay.
And I'd like to know more about your conceptualization of, well, conceptualization of religious instinct, religious impulse, something like that. It's like, how do you view that, and why is it that you've been asked to talk to gatherings of religious people, for example?
Yeah. So the story that I tell in The Righteous Mind is that humans are products of multi-level selection, which means that for the most part, if you read Richard Dawkins, for the most part, it's selfish genes create their survival machines, animals or plants, and those survival machines compete with other survival machines, and that's what we all know, sort of textbook Darwinian evolution. But while I love Dawkins' writing, I love the selfish gene, he for some reason says that plants and animals are the vehicles that the selfish genes travel on, but groups are not. He just says groups can't be. He just rules that out, if I remember correctly. And for most species, that works great. But for bees, for example, it obviously doesn't work. For bees, it's obvious that the unit isn't the individual bee. It's the hive where the queen is the ovary. And the argument that I make in The Righteous Mind is that humans show signs of some group level selection. That is, we're primates, we're like chimpanzees and bonobos in a lot of ways, but we have this ability to lose ourselves in something larger, to become completely unselfish, to sacrifice for the group. That is unlike any other animal that is not genetically 50% or more shared genes with all the other animals in its group. And so drawing on research on early human origins, and especially the period around from like 1 million years ago to 200,000 years ago, it appears that we did live in groups that competed with other groups for territory over all sorts of things, and that often wiped out or killed other groups. And so I think there was some degree of group level selection. We are everyone here on Earth now our genes are not a cross section of the genes that were on this Earth 100,000 or 200,000 years ago. Most groups left no trace, and other groups went on to spectacular success. So the way you see this is not by having an argument about altruism, which is where the argument is usually done. Steve Pinker and I Steve disagrees with me on this. Steve doesn't think that group selection played any role. But I think if you look at groupishness or tribalism, why are we so tribal? Why do we love to paint our faces and band together and drink together and do all this stuff for sports? Why do we have these tribal responses? And I talk about my response on 9/11, on September 11th. I had this deep urge to display an American flag. Like, where did that come from? It was almost like a Jungian sort of like thing welling up from my collective unconscious. It was weird, but I had a real urge to display an American flag. But as a professor, I couldn't really do that because people would think I was a Republican. So I it's the solution I came up with.
Well,
I
it's
described
one way of marking yourself.
Is that you laughing or him?
I just thought it was funny that he's like, I can't. How sad is it? He's like, as a professor, I can't put American flag up because then people will think I'm like the different political party.
It
That's so
is
sad.
super sad.
It's so sad.
It is. I don't like that.
But
Come on.
But what Peterson says here is interesting. So
Yeah.
go back like
If it's not a terrorist,
is not a terrorist is to what?
fly a flag. I mean, if you imagine that your group is attacked, the first thing that's relevant is who's with you and who isn't. And I mean, that was made public politically by Bush, right? If you're not with us, you're against us. And so that might be part of an atavistic attempt to say, look, guys, I'm definitely on your side. I'm not trying.
Well, it's funny because he was saying that he couldn't display the flag because it would show them that they weren't on. He wasn't on their side.
Well, on the intra-group side.
Yes.
But he said, he said he had the desire to. Where does that desire come from?
Yeah.
Right.
No, it comes from loyalty. You want to show
but
loyalty.
that plays into what Jordan Peterson's saying. Is that it's the part of this to show your allegiance to your side.
Yeah. I do remember driving around and seeing all of the American flags, and it was a real feeling of solidarity that I could get behind.
Remember, people they were selling those little car flags in mass that you could put out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah, crazy.
Trying to put it down.
Yeah. Well, okay. But but you're suggesting an individually adaptive reason for flying a flag, but you wouldn't need that if we didn't have the groupish tribal thing of let's kill people who aren't going along with us. So anyway, to bring this back to religion, my point is that we evolved in this dynamics of group versus group, and here I follow David Sloan Wilson, in saying, conflict within a conflict at any level brings about cooperation at the next level down. And so we come together to compete, we cooperate intensely in order to compete with other groups. And that would be a hallmark of a long period of intergroup competition, which shaped which genes have come down to us today. So anyway, we didn't evolve for big gods. We didn't evolve for Yahweh and Allah. We evolved for little gods and sprites and the god of this river and this tree, and we evolved to worship our ancestors, and we evolved just this really intense spirituality that manifests in a magical world. We have all of these beliefs that don't track reality, but they do serve a Durkheimian function. That is, they do serve, I believe, not to help us understand the world, but to bond together with others so that we can survive in this world in conflict and competition with other groups. That's the Durkheimian story. And in The Righteous Mind, I was so pleased that I could integrate two of my heroes in the social sciences, which are Durkheim and Darwin. They actually fit together perfectly on the subject of multi-level selection and even on ideas of sacredness and groups coming together. So that's the approach I developed to religion. The Righteous Mind, I originally thought I'd write about politics, but the subtitle is Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, because they're largely the same thing psychologically.
So that idea of the sacred, in order to, we might ask, what are the preconditions for being able to live peacefully with other people? And it seems to me that, if we're all law-abiding, for example, then we all embody the body of the law. And so what that means is that
there's a huge eye roll right there of Jonathan Haidt. You couldn't see it because it was off camera, but
how do you know it's there then?
Because you can hear it in his voice.
It's just listening sounds. You're so judgmental.
Let Grandpa talk.
Okay, listen to this guy
imitating something. We're all imitating the same thing. And that's what makes us the same. And that's why.
So wait, what do you disagree with
in our conversation? That maybe what unites.
Well, I couldn't hear what he said, but he said something like, "Why are you bringing this stupid shit up, Jordan?"
I don't understand what do you have contention with here that Peterson's saying?
They're talking past one another. Well, everything Haidt said, he's not really. Haidt is talking about group selection and
versus individual selection. Yes.
And Jordan Peterson has also slipped into like the metaphysical realm here, archetypes. Jordan Peterson's bringing
That's what he always does. Yes, he's talking about Jordan Peterson stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Okay, so what's wrong with that?
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny.
I mean, Haidt completed his thought. It's not like he asked Peterson a question and then Peterson just went off, like ignored it and went on his own direction.
Haidt is very much a materialist.
Yes.
And Jordan Peterson is not a materialist.
Well, I don't even know if I'd agree. He is and he isn't. He's just not strictly a materialist.
Well, he is. I've argued with people about this before, so I've kind of honed my position on this.
Okay.
You could believe that Jordan Peterson is a materialist because he's very careful to argue in a materialist framework.
Right.
But I don't think Jordan Peterson deep down is a materialist. I think he believes in the supernatural. Yeah.
So you're saying that we're the same. I'm basically Jordan Peterson. I'm embodying the Jordan Peterson position.
This is why you like Jordan Peterson.
Okay. Maybe,
and I'm Haidt. I'm basically Haidt. I'm like, there's nothing supernatural, Jordan. Grandpa, shut the fuck up, okay? We're trying to have a conversation about science here, and you bring up all this crap. That's why it's funny. It's just funny. I did like this conversation. I was a little disappointed when they had Steven Pinker, but then once Steven Pinker was gone, I was like, oh my God, this is great.
You're so wrong.
I want these guys to clash of ideas.
Yeah.
People isn't so much belief as the pursuit of something like a shared ideal.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm a little, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, let me just develop that a little bit, because you talked about what was sacred.
Mm-hmm.
See, all of these are very like, I feel sorry for you because what you're saying makes absolutely no sense.
Just normal listening sounds, Adam. You're too judgmental here. You're too prejudiced.
I think I'm right. I really do. I think deep down, I might send Haidt an email just to see if I can get some secret.
Were you mocking Jordan Peterson when you said yes? And,
I'm just curious. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know. They're definitely friends, but I do think Haidt is a bit dismissive of Jordan Peterson. I do think that.
Hurtful.
Yeah.
And it's
truth hurts, man.
Seems to me that there's an association between what's sacred and what inspires awe. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Do you think it's reasonable to presume that the instinct for awe is the same as the instinct for imitation, for mimicry?
I don't think they're the same. No.
Yeah, man. Look at that. No. Shaking his head. Mimicry is not even one of the moral foundations.
But he's not talking about that. He said the instinct for awe. I don't know if I'd say it's the same, but they'd be related, right?
But he should know the literature on this. The instinct for imitation is based in status seeking.
So
they don't do the same at all.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit. So I'll tell you why I think they're the same, and you tell me why you think they're not, if that's okay. Well,
please.
Let me give you an example. People can be possessed by a spirit at a football game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the teams are cooperating and competing in the way that you described. So there's a tribal element, but overall they're immersed in cooperation because they're all playing soccer. Mm-hmm. And then they're competing to hit a target fundamentally, which is the goal of most sports events, is to hit a target. Okay, so the teams organize themselves into hierarchies of talent, etc. Essentially, there's a star. Perhaps the star makes a phenomenal athletic gesture and hits the target. And the entire stadium stands up and spontaneously, right? And because they're observing something that inspires awe. And that awe-inspiring act is to hit the target. And they're all in that stadium celebrating the act of hitting the target. Now, I started to figure this out when I looked into the root of the word sin, because it's hamartia. It means to miss the target.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, wow is right. Wow is right. And so
the second wow was not as wowful.
That's pretty interesting, though.
It is
the
interesting.
root of sin, it means to miss the target.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Very fascinating.
The opposite of that is.
Do you not think it is? Do you not understand the implication that he'd be drawing from? Saying that that the origination of sin would be to like miss the woolly mammoth with your little spear. It's kind of an interesting concept because that's not how we conceptualize sin at all today.
It is. He also says all sports, it has to do with hitting a target, which I thought. Even true, chess?
Well, team sports.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see in a stadium with that spontaneous manifestation of awe, the possession of the entire stadium often, and it's almost entirely unconscious because they get up on their feet before they think. And it's an act of worship, essentially, for that prowess shown, for that demonstration of how to hit the mark. And that's part of the imitative spirit, I think. It's part of imitating what's competent and heroic.
Okay, so I disagree with that analysis because I'm a Durkheimian. I just, what would Emil Durkheim say about that? Is it that people are so amazed at the skill with which that guy kicked a ball into a net? I don't think so. Sports events of the kind you describe, that never happens with soccer in the United States. For us, it's more football and sometimes basketball. But of the kind you describe, it's the pleasure, and anybody listening to this can probably think of times when they either sung in a choir or played in a band or played on a sports team, and you have that feeling of really becoming one. That is a I would say, a quasi-mystical or mystical experience. It's a sort of a loss of self emerging into something larger.
Yes.
That's my argument about this higher and lower level, the level of the sacred and the level of the profane. And Durkheim describes those are Durkheimian terms. He uses those terms. We can briefly enter the realm of the sacred. And if you're going to go see a football game, would you rather have an excellent view of the game alone in a room with an excellent screen, or maybe even just an excellent window? Or would you rather be part of the whole crowd that does the wave? I mean, think about the wave.
No, I agree with you.
People spontaneously figured out how they could become a...
Because I think they're both right. I think Haidt's a little bit more right, that a lot of the emotion people get from cheering in the stands is that they're all sort of combining together to be one, communal entity to some extent. But part of that is that they all take joy not only from being together in this oneness, but also take joy from the player scoring the goal. And thus it's like it becomes like, oh, well, we all scored the goal because they scored.
I know.
You're all taking part of it. So that's why, I don't think either of them is wrong. And that's kind of, it's not like an if then or situation.
But I just don't, I don't feel, I guess I feel awe when I see somebody do something amazing, but not because he's a part of my team. It's a completely different feeling for me, being a part of a winning team. Like seeing somebody do something amazing on a team that I'm a part of is just, it's different than you don't have to see you don't have to be on the team to
sure. Listen, I don't feel this way either at sports games, but that's because I'm a fucking asshole, antisocial rebel.
Yeah.
So I can't draw from my own personal experiences here. I'm just drawing from the way other people react at these games, where everyone gets very, hooked into the atmosphere. It's kind of acting together. And it's interesting because it's weird because what Haidt's saying now almost confirms what Peterson said earlier, that awe and imitation is connected to each other in some way. Because if people are achieving this religious awe experience, as Haidt says, by all kind of acting together as one, then obviously imitation is going to play a huge part in that. So it's weird because he's sort of confirming what Peterson said that he disagreed with.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. So that adds a level of the mimicry.
Yeah, because you have to, in order for everyone to be as one, there has to be a mimicry. There has to be an imitation.
True.
And maybe that's the difference, because we can experience awe as individuals and we can experience awe as groups. And I think, they're kind of related, but they're also different experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What moral foundation is? Awe is, there is not a moral foundation for awe, but it definitely is an emotion. Yeah.
But it's not a moral foundation. I mean, your morality is not based around like emotions in that extent.
Are there emotions that can't be traced to moral foundations theory? I've thought about this before, but not really deeply. I haven't really cataloged all the emotions. Like love could be like traced to caring and loyalty, and like all of them. Love is kind of like a super combination of multiple emotions at the same time. But
yeah, but I mean, awe is too, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, I
you
don't
would say,
know.
well, it depends. If we're talking about group awe, there'd be some element of loyalty, some element of sanctity, probably in there.
I mean,
And
I'm
then
trying
if
to think of experiences where I've had of awe.
right. But if you're talking
Yeah.
about individual awe, it would be completely individualized. I don't like, it wouldn't fall into a specific category because it'd be situationally dependent.
Yeah. Do you remember experiences of awe that you could
Sure.
trace back to a moral foundation? Yeah, it's a tough one, huh? Awe is like,
Well, I'm trying to think, would it trace back to a specific moral foundation?
I've
is this the
saw
way
like
moral foundations are supposed to be used? I never really conceptualized it this way.
yeah. That's why I'm curious. I'm
Mhm.
curious because moral foundation, like I pay attention when I feel caring or loyalty, betrayal, or any of the ones that are just totally strike to the core that I think this is authority subversion right here.
Right.
This is liberty oppression right here. I feel the oppression.
Uh-huh.
We were doing that with an academic agent. We were like, that's right. We're not going to watch your videos.
Well, okay.
Feel oppressed. Feel the oppression.
That's hilarious. So, like, okay, if people generally, like, when they have singular experiences of awe, okay, it's like they have a religious experience.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's like, oh, I felt God's love. So would that be like super care foundation?
Well, no, I was thinking like I saw the Grand Canyon. That feeling like, wow, that wow feeling. Or when I've been, when you go camping and the first night you look up at the stars and you're like, Jesus Christ, there's a fucking billion of them. It's like just a blanket of stars.
I see. Well, like when you feel like something is beyond you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, but
yeah. I guess you feel small. That's interesting.
Right. It makes you feel small. That's interesting because I never, that sensation of feeling
tiny,
small, but that's not really what they were talking about because they're talking about the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, though, but that's interesting that you bring that up because that is a form of awe, and yet they have the completely opposite. You have one form of awe where you feel smaller than yourself, but it doesn't make you feel bad. It makes you feel good. See, but how is that? What's up with that?
This is why I'm with Haidt, though, because the two experiences that I pulled out so readily have nothing to fucking do with groupishness. They have nothing to do with being part of a team. They don't. Awe just is completely separate from those.
Well, but maybe
emotions.
you just don't like this word awe.
Mm-hmm. No, awe is great. I love it.
No, but like, would you refer to a bunch of people? So a guy scores a goal, and 90% of the audience, except for the Sitches and Adams, all jump to their feet in exuberant joy. Maybe we just shouldn't call that awe. Maybe we should just call it something else.
Yeah. I've never experienced awe in some sort of sporting environment. So maybe we're just ill-equipped for that. Yeah. We would have to dig in on what Jordan Peterson means by awe.
Right.
I think of it as stars, obviously Grand Canyon. That's why I was asking you, what are you thinking when people say awe, what's the moment that you look to?
Right.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Superorganism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, no, I'm not disagreeing at all. Yeah. And I do think there's a collective element of that worship that's exactly in keeping with what you're describing. And it does unite people in the imitation of a spirit in exactly the same way that they're united in a concert or when they're playing in a band. I think those are all manifestations of the same thing. And so I'm not saying that it's only individual by any stretch of the imagination, because there'd be nothing that would unite. See, in the stadium, they're united around that.
Right.
Right?
Okay. So let's focus on imitation here. I guess the reason I disagreed with you is that imitation is such an important human ability for learning. The fact that we, and here I draw from Joe Henrich and others, their approach to cultural evolution, Joe's book, Why Humans Cooperate, and The Weirdest People in the World. And for humans, the nature of the game is not who has the biggest, strongest, or the biggest teeth. It's who learns the most, who learns the best. And we have all this optimization for learning fast. And imitation is a big part of that. So we do imitation, but we do selective imitation, and we figure who should I imitate. So that would be a sort of a lower level, ubiquitous, crucial human ability that we have, has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with awe. But then I think we can bring our accounts together by saying,
See, he just pointed out, he says nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with awe. This is what I was saying earlier, that imitating is an individual thing.
Well, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that imitation is a very baseline biological,
right,
animalistic function.
It's like eating.
We'll still say it's a step up from eating. And then he's saying that religion and awe experiences is like a step up from that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to bring them together. So let's see how he does this.
Now, then we also have this thing about we're able to come together in larger groups to pursue common interests, especially in competition. And as we do that, we use our imitation abilities. We draw on our imitation abilities. And so religious worship, it's always puzzling me. In Judaism, you daven, you bow, but it's not in sync. So that one is, I think, a little different. Often you sing, you sway in harmony. You do what everyone else does, and so
that's to atone.
The davening is to
atonement.
Oh, at one mint.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So let's go back to imitation.
Okay.
So okay. So
I was so frustrated that he totally derailed the conversation.
No, but see, so I don't know. See, you're taking it like this way. I disagree. I think that's what he says interesting is that if the concept of atonement derives from people trying to get back to the oneness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting because that means that
that
means that this idea that whenever we sin, we're breaking off of the community, the group, the oneness. And so to me, I think the thing would be that it's not. I think what Haidt should say, or what I would say in the situation, is that I do think that the mechanic, the biological mechanism of imitation, obviously, is a much older mechanism in human beings, or just in animals in general. But then, like religiousness or awness or whatever this thing is that we're talking about, this sense of community. But obviously, as evolution, it always uses previous tools to iterate and improve and build upon that. So it definitely uses imitation and mimicry in order to achieve awness in this group sense.
Yeah. E pluribus unum is out of many one too.
Right.
That's our national motto. Getting back to the one. That's what a lot of people want to do.
Did you read King Dan's Killer, aka Dingus May Bingus for $50?
No, let's read it.
Dingus May Bingus for $50. Thank you so much. Says, to my knowledge, the actor is not responsible for clearing guns. The assistant director and armorer are 100% responsible. Also, if it was a single action revolver, parentheses, if it was a Western, Baldwin didn't need to pull the trigger. Single actions are dangerous.
Wow. Well, there are, like I said, there are 4 people in the chain of checking. Four actual people are supposed to check the gun before the gun is fired at. So you are correct that the AD and the armorer both are in those. And I believe the AD is the assistant director. One of them is like the assistant cinematographer, but I can't remember. He's got his own name.
Right.
But I won't bore you with that. Let's move on.
Look, when a son acts out a father when he's playing house, he doesn't imitate his father, by which I mean you could observe the father walking across the room and making certain motions, and the son by no means precisely duplicates those motions.
Right.
What the son does is observe the father across a wide variety of contexts, extract out the gist, and imitate the gist.
Yeah.
Okay, so you made the claim that what we're imitating is the capacity to learn. But I would modify that and say, no, we're imitating the capacity to explore. And there's a difference there. Well, the difference is that learning is, in some sense, it has the connotation of a kind of passivity. Whereas, did you ever see that medieval drawing of the sky all covered with stars and the man on the edge of the earth with his head poking through the firmament? Does that bring a bell?
No, an actual medieval drawing or a modern cartoon?
No, it's a medieval drawing. It doesn't matter, but it's to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Yeah.
You know, in the modern parlance. Well, there's a narrative that drives that, and that's the thing that's imitated. And I think all of those collective manifestations of immersement in the sacred that you're describing are opportunities for people to collectively engage in attention to and elevation of something like that.
Wait, so we certainly are an exploratory species, and just as when I was a kid, you put a.
I completely disagree with Peterson here, because I think you have to separate learning, imitation, and exploration. I don't think any of these ideas are interchangeable with each other.
Yeah,
I
agree.
would argue that the sense of when the child watches their parent and then imitates them, or as Peterson says, draws a gist of it and then imitates that gist, which definitely happens. I would say that's completely learning. I would not necessarily call someone who's an explorer, who's driven to go out and seek something that's undiscovered. I wouldn't think of that as necessarily learning. I think it's a completely different drive.
And I think it varies. I think it's on a spectrum. Some people, this is one of the big differences between conservatives and liberals in the openness to experience. Conservatives are more likely to stay in the town that they grew up in, and liberals are more likely to move far away, which, I mean, one is exploring, and one is not. So
yeah.
I don't get that. Like, I've lived all over the place because that's me. But my parents haven't done that. My parents didn't move all over the place.
But it's interesting because that manifests not just in your physical movement, but also when it comes to, you seek out all this intellectual information and explore it too. So obviously there is some connection between a personality type or personality trait there.
Openness.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, but it's not just openness, because it's openness and motivation. Because you can be very open and not motivated to do any of this stuff.
Oh God, that's got to be the most depressing. That personality type is terribly depressing. Can you imagine? All this desire for new stuff, but not the energy.
Well, no, I'm saying openness itself is not desire. Openness just means a willingness.
Okay.
Right?
I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of work to move all over.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
A lot of planning, a lot of bravery, I guess. I mean, it's easier to do when you're young. I can't imagine doing it now.
Right.
Terrifying.
I don't want to do it. It sounds like a lot of fucking work.
Yeah. Have you lived anywhere?
I haven't lived anywhere else. No, not
really.
Yet. No.
God, when I went to college, I went away from where I grew up.
Oh yeah, I guess that I'm not thinking about college.
Right. But after college, I was like, I'm gonna go live in New Orleans. New Orleans seems interesting to me. I gotta
just randomly decided of all the places to live in New Orleans.
Listen. This is funny because I looked it up on the screen.
Like Sitch, there are girls there. There was the beads and the Mardi Gras.
I had no idea about the whole Mardi Gras thing.
Sure.
I discovered though that on the last stream, I didn't even know this. I've lived in New Orleans. New Orleans is the most Catholic city in the United States.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Dave is completely jealous. I've lived there. I've lived Catholicism. There was a lot of debauchery.
And a lot of voodoo and stuff too. So there you go.
I know, yeah. God, it was so fast. It was such a culture shock to live there. I was like, this is exactly what I want. Yeah.
I mean, I've been to New
Amazing.
Orleans a bunch of times, but I don't know if I'd want to live there.
You don't know a place until you really live there.
Yeah, that's
until you
fair.
like
That's
get a job there.
That is fair. That's true.
Yeah. You have to make friends because how are you going to go out and meet girls if you don't know anyone?
True.
Right?
There you
Yeah,
go.
no. New Orleans was fun.
You get a mouse or a gerbil as a pet, you put it into a cage, it's going to explore. So, mammals are many of them are very explorative. Human children are too. Is that what I'm sorry, you're saying this is what religion is somehow related to our exploratory instincts? What do you mean?
Yes, that it's a manifestation of our attempt to abstract out what the essential element of that is. So, for example, in Christianity,
he has a completely different take on religion. That's like searching for God. You can tell how he's piecing it together.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I'm just far too dismissive of religion for that.
I think. Well, but
Well,
that's obviously to me. I mean, that's obviously a piece of it. I don't think you can't deny that, right? Religion is searching for a higher meaning.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm a little more cynical about the world, and this is why I like Haidt's explanation that, we invented these moralistic gods so we could have power over people, and with that power came domestication.
Yeah, but that's a different. Wait a minute, but that's different because that's true. That can happen, but in order for that to happen, there has to be some feeling that that can be manipulated by others, right? Like you couldn't manipulate others if they didn't experience
They
this
don't believe.
desire,
Yeah.
right, in the first place, and the desire to believe.
Yeah.
And
I am
when you're talking about like looking at the Grand Canyon or the stars, and you have this sense, and maybe there's a moral foundation that's missing, and maybe one of them is this search for like the non-physical meaning, the metaphysical meaning in one's life, because there definitely are people that are completely don't give a fuck about that whatsoever, and there are people that are very motivated by this, seeing what's beyond themselves.
Meaning and discovery. Yeah, you're right. The moral foundations came about because Haidt just looked at the huge bodies of literature in psychology, like attachment theory was a giant one. And obviously the Care Harm Foundation came out of all the study of attachment. Reciprocal altruism was a giant field of study in psychology. So obviously fairness cheating came out of that. So there are all these, the Milgram experiments on authority, the Authority Subversion Foundation came out of. So he wasn't necessarily, so definitely there could be missing foundations out there, but he just felt best if you're plucking from the ether to look at things that have been studied, because obviously you can think, well, there's something here. There's some foundation here. So I thought that was pretty smart of him. But
it is.
Peterson, so I'm thinking like if there is some foundation about meaning searching, I mean, that just
some kind of spiritual foundation.
There has to be something in psychology about that. Every fucking psychologist in the world, I mean, that's like their thing. Like you got to get meaning in your life, otherwise you're going to be depressed. Meaning is the antidote to depression.
Right.
Actually, I guess meaning is purpose. Purpose is the antidote to depression.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, they're not exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
because
meaning
you can have
comes from purpose.
Right. Because he's talking about more something like the sense of that there's something grander than yourself that you're seeking out.
Even that is a groupish adaptation because you want to become something larger than yourself. You want to become embedded in some institution that's timeless.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting is that for some people that does manifest institutionally, but for a lot of other people, it's not really. It manifests in some sort of metaphysical way.
Yeah,
or metaphysical desire, I guess, would be more appropriate.
Yeah,
and that kind of, and it's weird because in some religions, some spiritual groups, they're connected. In some spiritual groups, it's like, oh, you want to go find some sort of like joint oneness with God that's kind of like that all people or all the universe is part of. But with Christianity or other religions, it's not. God is a separate entity. You're not really joining a oneness per se. It's sort of like more of an individualistic level. You know, you're finding your own salvation, your own enlightenment.
Yeah. Yes. But they do say things like be one with God and
That's true. They do
join
say
God and
they do.
yeah.
They do.
The,
So maybe
Here,
it's
we should read super chats, but I'll
okay.
play a little more and hopefully they'll get to a good ending place.
the faculty that's elevated to the highest degree is logos. And of course, that's translated into logic by the Greeks, but that isn't exactly all it means. It means more like exploratory, communicative endeavor, but also with a tremendous emphasis on the truth. And I traced that development back, for example, into Egypt and into Mesopotamia. And the Egyptians worshipped the eye, Horus's eye. And that's the attentive eye. It's not rationality precisely. It's the ability to see what's in front of you. It's the opposite of willful blindness. And the Egyptians characterized it as such because the god of Egyptian attention, Horus, was the antidote to Osiris.
See, I wonder why he says that it's not rationality, because Haidt isn't a rationalist. Haidt is a social intuitionist. So I don't know why he said that.
Osiris was the blindness of the state. He was the state and the blindness of the state. The Egyptians had that all figured out. And in Mesopotamia, the highest god, Marduk, he had eyes all the way around his head. And he spoke magic words. And he was the victor of a battle between a whole sequence of gods, competition between gods, that was likely the abstracted result of competition between tribes and their own, local religions. Because monotheism seemed to emerge like that. Imagine all these tribes with their local gods.
He's like piecing together a narrative that kind of parallels the evolutionary narrative that Haidt laid out earlier. So maybe that's a connection for him. Because Haidt laid out a narrative that there are a lot of humans that died out, but they died out because their tribe was not successful, not because the individual humans weren't successful. That we were really competing for a long time at the tribal level. That's his argument for group selection.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard for me to imagine groups. Like, I don't understand how you could argue against group selection.
Yeah, I don't either. There's a couple of books by David Sloan Wilson that just seem like undeniable. Yeah, I wish, this is funny because Brett Weinstein has a take, but he's never made any effort to have that talk with David Sloan Wilson. And it fucking pisses me off a bit because whenever he talks about group selection, he kind of beats around the bush about how he has this lineage level selection idea, but he never really elaborates on it. And I really hoped he was going to elaborate on it in his book, but his book had nothing about it, which was sad. So the wife must have won that fight. It's like, why is this stuff in here? Come on, I want more stuff about cooking in our book. Can you imagine doing a book with your wife? Oh my God, I couldn't imagine it. All right, that's the sexist portion of the show, guys. Let's go over to Super Chats. Did you want to say anything?
No, I denounce all forms of sexism as a leftist socialist who doesn't believe in gender or gender roles and thinks that all women should be strong, independent womens.
Sexism is an intimate part of our show, as you know. Sitch can't run away from it, even though he tries like crazy.
Okay.
So I wonder if I should just share this screen here.
Don't share our DMs.
Oh yeah, not yet. I'm waiting.
Waiting for the opportune moment to strike.
I do share a lot of them with Doomer because since you shared his DMs, I figured it's not a big deal.
I didn't even talk about Doomer in the DMs. What are you sharing with him then, huh? What are you sharing?
I don't listen. A-Team doesn't share DMs. Okay?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sitch is like, I know you're lying because you shared some with me.
He shared me all the DMs. Every DM Adam's ever gotten from any person has been sent. He's like, Sitch, before I send this reply to this DM, is this acceptable? And then he shows me what he's going to write. I'm like, yes, Adam, that's fine.
Not true, but funny. So I'll let it pass.
Okay. See, that's the way you got to handle it.
Where did we read? Where are we at on these super chats? Oh, damn it.
Uh-oh.
I think I caught up on them.
Resend
no.
your Tifa abs, Fairy Joker. Oh, you did read
Oh,
that
yeah.
one.
We got
Input latency. Input latency for $2 says, I just got here like 40 minutes ago, 2 times speed. Woo! There you go.
not true. Caffeinated Tweaker for 2 Canadian says, you guys need to break up with AA already. Hi, by the way. Break up.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I already ghosted that mofo. He's the one that keeps throwing rocks.
If you just resent it, Fairy Joker, I don't know where you're sending. You're not sending it to me because I don't get any new DMs from anyone. So
Stop DMing Lauren Southern.
yeah, stop sending Lauren Southern Tifa nudes. Okay, she doesn't want it.
The Loch Ness Monster for 350 says, I know understand angry comments last Thursday. You guys could.
Thank you, Loch Ness Monster. We will always spot you. 350.
Also, the Asian accent kind of gives it away too. King Dance Killer, aka Dingus McBingus for 1999 says, Sitch, you fool. As long as A-Team Productions keeps up with the creation of wrenches, we can get distributing. We can keep distributing them ad infinitum. Looks at Adam, cough.
There you go. There you go.
That's right. Fucking these digital assets are free.
There's your MMT. Yes.
Don't fall for the Bitcoin stuff. This stuff is free. Lord Tennyson's pipe for $5 says the reason people criticize liberalism is because it often treats people and things as mere market commodities in a world where everything is for sale. Is that?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's liberalism. That's capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't.
Is that true?
I would say capitalism does that.
Oh my God. Gemini, you've got my cat wearing red shorts and
no, it's the weasel.
It's a weasel. That's amazing.
Oh, you've never seen that before? He's had that for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gemini Samimi for $2 says Adam doesn't even wrench me.
You got to wrench him for that avatar.
I see what you did there.
Uh-huh.
Can Gemini be trusted?
I think he can.
Okay, I'll give him a wrench.
You can click on the super chat. And
oh, wait, Wandering Wojak. Fuck yeah, he gets a wrench. What's up here? Wandering Wojak has all those stats. Did you get that thing I sent you? That's what he's saying right now. To Sitch. I'm not going to read all that stuff, but
I didn't get it.
Doomer Media for $5. A-Team General. A-Team 5-star Brigadier General Doomer. General Doomer Media for $5 says, we have wrenches in the channel that we have wrenches in the channel that matters. More like PSA snitch. That must be him. That must be him poking fun at you for sharing his DMs. You know, Doomer, he shared my DMs before too, and I always was like, that's a little weird, but usually it's funny, so I just go with it.
As long as it's funny, it's acceptable.
I think he shared one with me being like the normal. Well, actually, you know, I was quite a bit more sexist pig because I thought it would be private. I thought it was going to be private, so you know, privately. You know, I'm usually a 10 on stream sexism, but privately,
I'm 12.
Yeah, exactly.
See, Doomer's just mad because Doomer's really a tsundere, and he didn't want anyone to know that. So when I revealed it to the world, he just got upset and embarrassed.
I got a chat. Big Brain is requesting a wrench. The
Mhm.
chat has to confirm before I can just give wrenches out, because there's a lot of academic agent Confederates.
Oh, this would be an interesting social experiment. You say, in order for someone to get a wrench, you say, okay, chat, you have to like 20 different people have to press number 1,
Yeah.
or if 20 people press number 2 faster, then they don't get a wrench. So it's up to the chat to make this distinction.
Oh, that is good. Right
so
now,
there you go, chat. If 20 different people press 1 before 20 different people press 2, then Big Brain will get a wrench.
Okay, there you go. It's
So
the
there you go.
ones giving Big Brain a wrench.
And the
Well, I
two's
just want to know.
taken away.
I just want to know if he's a Confederate or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, looks like the ones are on a runaway.
Yeah, the ones have.
I think the ones have it, guys.
Oh, no.
Only press 1 once, okay, you guys.
Colovar, Jesus.
Only press 1 once. Stop spamming it.
Colovar, you're gonna lose your wrench.
I know, look, Colovar over here. I'm shocked.
Utter nonsense. Okay. Don't you guys could get banned or get my channel banned or something. I've heard.
You're not gonna get banned for spamming numbers in the chat.
I've heard bad stuff about that. All right, Big Brain. Listen, guys, you got to let me know, because sometimes I'm a little weak with the wrenches.
See, we'll have to try this on Sunday, because I feel like on the main channel we get a lot faster 2s than 1s.
Well, now that's totally unusable if people can do it more than once. That's
that's right.
Utter Nonsense for $4.99 says, so my paper is on the school network, but I'm locked out due to an investigation.
Oh,
one of the deans wants my head on a platter. A-Team reigns. Utter Nonsense definitely is A-Train. You can
He is a rebel. Ask one of your friends to get it. Jeez.
Hell yeah. A-Team is rebels.
Or is it like one of those things? I don't know. I went to school before all this crazy school network shit. So like you don't have a copy on your computer. You just literally write it on the network and submit it through that. There's no physical copy, or you don't have your own saved copy.
Mm-hmm.
God, you gotta get a copy of that Utter Nonsense.
Gabbles for $20 knock dollars says, where's my wrench? I've harassed Adam since forever.
That's true. That's
Gobbles,
true. He has.
Gobbles is good for
you can click the super chat. I keep telling you.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, see the little dots?
Look at that. Gobbles. Stop your fucking whining, okay? You got your fucking wrench. Jesus. 909E Dow for $7.99 Aussie bucks says, Nuance Bro did a great breakdown on the Baldwin situation. Same conclusion as Destiny without a silly ragging.
Raging.
Yeah.
Doesn't get very triggered.
You sure he wasn't ragging?
Yeah. People like the silly raging. That's why they find it.
I know. That's why Nuance Bro needs to let his inner rage go. Listen, Nuance Bro, reach out to me. We'll do a stream on MMT. You will be triggered to high heaven. It'll be great.
Right.
It'll be great YouTube. Joe the Mig for $5. Does Joe have a... Is Joe? I mean, he's always here. Add moderator. Look at that. Joe the Mig.
It's raining wrenches today, boys.
Joe the Mig for $5 says, Butter, Alec clearly failed to check the firearm, which is step number 1 of picking up any weapon. There you go. Joe knows what's up.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if the actor could differentiate correctly. If that even should be their responsibility.
Good. It is the actor's responsibility.
I disagree completely.
I already schooled you. Schooled you on this.
Okay.
It's true. I'm telling you. I know it for a fact, because
I've met actors. Okay. Unlike artists, they're not the immune system of society. They're not very... A lot of actors aren't very intelligent. I'm not sure I'm going to trust them with being the ones.
We did not have
the bullets aren't in the gun. Okay.
We did not have any real guns on set when we shot The Pinch. We had prop guns.
Right.
We went to some prop house in, God, I think it was, I can't remember where it was, but it was fucking amazing. They had a wall just of every kind of weapon you could imagine that was fake, but looked amazingly real, like
Right.
movie studio quality real.
Yeah, when you say
It's
prop,
pretty
you mean
cool.
it literally is incapable of firing.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no bullet, no gun.
No, I mean
yeah.
no firing mechanism. Yeah.
When we did a day of shooting, but we went out in the desert to shoot, and we shot everything at angles where, we're using the sky basically as a backdrop, so
Yeah.
you could use real footage in the movie, but it wasn't shot on set. Derek Drummond for $5 says, "Wait, Sitch gets a piece of this? I want my other $5 back." Derek, that's fucking hilarious. Derek's a moderator. Yeah, that's right. Of course he
Remove
is.
moderator.
That's not gonna happen. We don't do. Listen,
Remove.
only S class is full of Indian givers. We don't remove moderators. Right
Look
now.
at this racist motherfucker.
Is that racist?
Of
That
course
was
it's racist.
Oh,
What kind of question is that?
It's racist against white people. They're the fucking Indian
Guys,
givers.
is the term Indian giver racist? I don't know about this one.
I dispute that, because Indian giver is a what am I not supposed to say it again? Native American giver is racist against white people, because white people are the ones that gave the Indians things and took it back.
No, that's not what it means.
Oh, what does it mean?
No, I mean, but it's saying that the Native Americans or the Indians did that.
Oh, they did? They gave something and took it back?
I'm assuming that's the derivation. I'm assuming.
I thought it was aimed at white people,
No.
but maybe I'm incorrect. I officially apologize for if anyone was offended by anything that I said in this live stream. Please.
If we have any Native Americans out there, please send all your angry comments to Adam. Okay.
I'm 1/8 Cherokee Indian. I can say that. I'm more Cherokee Indian than Chief Pocahontas.
Mm-hmm.
Dan the Milkman. Let's just forget this ever happened. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble for racism. Dan the Milkman Dan for 10 Aussie dollars says, "Hey fellas, can Gabbles please have a wrench? I can't be trusted with one, but Gabbles is based as fuck. S class, get aboard the A train, choo choo." Add moderator. There you go. Now you and Gabbles both have a wrench. Hopefully you can be trusted. We'll find out. Chris Jones for $2 says, "It's supposed to be fun," says the MMT guy. I put that one up earlier because that is hilarious. Yeah, exactly. I know to keep my MMT streams to a minimum. Although I think next week you're supposed to join me. We're talking to the people who run the MMT podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Two people who are much smarter than us. Definitely much smarter than Sitch.
Yes.
That what's her name? Patricia Pino, is that it? She's got like a PhD or something. She's like
I'm listening to that.
Autonomous.
I listened to that stream you sent me. I don't understand half of what he's fucking saying.
Oh, really?
I'm just like, I guess this is true.
How did you find it so fascinating then?
Oh, no, I understood enough.
It's easy to follow. Yeah.
Well, when they get into like the very specific financial mechanisms, it's not easy to follow. It's kind of like, oh shit, like.
Yeah. Well, I can follow that stuff.
Okay, well, I guess you're just way smarter than me, Adam.
I can't wait for Academic Agent's response video, to be honest.
He's not going to respond to that thing, Adam.
You don't think so?
No.
He said, "Okay, sure." You think he's trolling me?
Maybe.
He would never dream.
He'll be
trolling
very
me.
dismissive of it.
He Academic Agent is not trolling me.
Has he ever responded to any MMT stuff, like in earnest?
He came on a stream. That is what is so weird about all this stuff, because I've done streams with Academic Agent. He came on and
I meant in video form. I know he talked to you about it.
No. Oh, he is like, if you search MMT on YouTube, the first thing to come up is Academic Agent's dog shit video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's terrible. He's got a picture of AOC.
That's funny.
Clickbait picture of AOC and
thing.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the guy, but here's the problem. The guy in the video says he's a leftist, so it doesn't. That's all he needs to do.
Oh yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Sargon basically laughing. Oh yeah, MMT's stupid. Sargon, don't. Don't get out over your skis here, okay?
Uh-huh.
Danimal the Bruce for 1999 says Peterson looks like a chainsaw sculpture, a wizard imbued with life, and Jonathan Haidt looks like Anderson Cooper. Took a breakup hard and ate 4 pints of Rocky Road. His pet caterpillars watched from his brow ridge. Holy shit. Danimal. Oh,
Brutal.
oh, that's
Brutal.
evil. Don't make fun of his pet caterpillars, okay? Contrast for $2 says Adam, you can turn off attack mode. Aiden isn't here. God, I love Aiden. Aiden needs to come back on.
I can't believe she puts up with you.
Look at that. Look at this. I'm only putting this up here to trigger.
I don't care.
Of course he's a moderator.
Yeah, I know he is. I don't care.
Is Contrast S class? I don't think he is.
No, he's vehemently A-team.
Oh,
He's
good.
secretly S-class, but he likes to pretend like he's A-team.
Everyone's only 18 for the wrenches, but I'm okay with it. Lord Tennyson's pipe for $5 says materialism cannot explain morality. Where is the moral molecule? It is not a natural or material thing, but is metaphysical or transcendent. Lord Tennyson's pike, I'm not sure if I definitely disagree with that, but I don't know if you're trolling me or not. I don't know if you actually believe that.
Well, I'm assuming they actually believe that.
Oh, really? Okay.
But no, I completely obviously, the two people that like Haidt are going to completely disagree with that. Lord Tennyson's pipe.
Gemini Samimi for $5 says, I learned that sin was missing the target in church years ago. Man, that's weird. Yeah, that I know. I learned it years ago too. Look at that. There you go. Add moderator.
Well, listen, I'm not Christian. I don't know what the fuck you guys talk about in church.
We do. Mostly just, the killing of Jesus.
Oh, okay.
No.
Of course.
I never went to one of those kinds of churches. Let's see here. Where am I?
William Kurt for $5.
I know you might have to go. I only have 2 minutes left. William Kurt for $5.
Do you want me to read through them quickly?
Go ahead.
Think about boxing. There's more clearly an example than Pearson brings up. People go crazy when there's a knockout blow getting on their feet. Oh, that's interesting. That's true too. But I would suggest it's the same
individual against individual.
Yeah, but the person's still rooting for a person, so they still feel that communal essence. But
I don't think so. Boxing is not a good example.
CT for 2 Canadians says 1 out of 10. How well can you cook? 1 equals burn water. 10 equals I can't see because you highlighted it. Awesome, I assume.
5 stars.
5 star. Yeah, I'm like in the 7 range. I'd say I give myself a 7. I'm decent.
How well can you cook?
Yeah,
me?
I'll say 7. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'd go 7. Yeah,
Okay,
7 seems competent. I can open a can of baked beans and dump some cottage cheese.
Jesus Christ. Very Joker for you says, by all, were you talking about the Sublime? I don't think that's what we were talking about. No. I don't like Sublime, actually. I've never a big fan of them, but yeah.
I've hung out with Sublime.
Oh, really?
Many
you
times,
ate dinner with them?
No, they used to go to play parties all the time where I lived. Yeah.
Big Brain for $5 says, wrench me.
I think I already did.
Yeah. J-Mac for $100. Thank you so much, Daddy J-Mac. Says, my official Sitch and Adam brand t-shirt shipped. Got to take a super weeby picture in it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do it up. Send us a Twitter tweet. That'd be great.
Big Brain for $5 says, time to abuse this tiny amount of power.
Oh, my God. Right here. Remove moderate.
Yeah. J-Mac for another $20. Thanks so much, Jay. Says... So I'm looking at the actual live stream, and I'm like, why aren't you scrolling down, Adam?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm an actor and an artist, Sitch, and I is very intelligent. Oh, of course. Listen, the tiny 1% or 0.01% of people that watch our show are obviously break all bounds, okay? All statistical models, and are obviously the top 1 percentile in everything they do.
Hell yeah.
Contrast for 2, Aussie Buck says, getting flashbacks of that Indian Seinfeld episode. Yeah, there was an entire episode of Seinfeld about the Indian giver thing.
Oh, really?
Racist or not?
Uh-oh.
Gemini Semini for $2 says, oh no, Adam did a racism. Time to Twitter him. Yes, do it.
Is it? I mean, I can't keep up with what's what.
Right.
I don't even know what it means. So maybe it's worse than I'm thinking it is. I thought it was to give someone something and take it back.
Fairy Joker says, Sitch, I sent you several DMs at PSA_Sitch. That is me.
That's you.
Did you send them just now? I literally
you
don't
gotta
see
look.
it.
You gotta okay them if you're not following them. Here, let me show my DMs and I'll show.
No, I know there's a little message. The only thing I could think of is unless Fairy Joker sent me something and I said fuck off and I denied it because I'm not seeing anything show up and I don't ever.
Why
remember
would you
seeing
do
it.
such a thing?
I don't remember.
Amazing.
I would never have denied a Tifa. So
Fairy Joker, did you do the Tifa thing?
Just tweet it to me normally, Fairy Joker.
Did you just find that Tifa thing?
Tweet it to me normally, or did you tweet it to me normally and not DMs? I'm looking at my DMs.
Input latency for $4.99 says, so I've got a hot take for y'alls. Religion, in particularly Catholicism, is not anti-science. Super chat character limit sucks, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Yeah, sure.
Is not anti-science.
That a lot of Christianity is not anti-science. I mean, it can be interpreted either way, right?
My new interpretation of Catholicism is it's anti-black. That's what I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it.
That's mean.
I've been convinced.
Mean.
The Catholics pro-pedophilia, anti-black.
Right. Electric Elephant for 2 Aussies says, why isn't truth a moral foundation? Because no one gives a fuck about truth.
Ooh, yeah. Truth is usually the first thing. If you're going to form a community, truth is definitely first on the chopping block. Which sucks.
Yeah.
It totally sucks. Yeah.
Fairy Joker for sure says the philosophical concept of sublime. Yeah, no, I understood you weren't referring to the band. I was joking. The philosophical concept of sublime is probably more what Adam is referring to when you're like, oh, I'm looking up at stars or the Grand Canyon or whatever. I'm not sure that would apply to the sports example though of awe, but maybe it does. I don't know enough about it.
Anyways, since Sitch is here,
go pick up your go be a simp for your better half.
For my lovely wife.
Yes.
Thank you all, and we will see you all next Thursday.
We'll see you all Sunday.
Actually, oh yeah, we'll see you all. Sitch and I will see you on Sunday, but also I think next Thursday I don't know if we're going to do a live stream or we're just going to record a conversation and upload it, but we're talking to the people who run the MMT podcast, which is super interesting. And we're talking to them about seeing if MMT can be pitched in a way that's just not completely partisan, which should be an interesting conversation.
Impossible.
So, yeah. Sitch already says it's impossible. I'm an optimist. Anyway, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.